In this video, I'm going to be teaching you some game theory and some things to be paying attention to for the Pulse Chain presale. Let's go ahead and get started. First off, I just want to say congratulations to everyone who is in Hex. Hex at the time of this recording is reaching new all-time highs and is sitting at right around 13 cents. It's crazy to think just a few weeks ago that Hex was right around 8 cents, and even further back, Hex was sitting at right around 2 to 4 cents at the time that I started talking about it in this course. So congratulations to everyone who has taken action. Now let's talk about some of the game theory and things to really be aware of with the Pulse Chain presale. First, earlier and larger sacrifices will get more points. The first 5 days get the same rate. The rate will increase 5% per day for the remaining 14 days. So here's how this is going to work. As you can see in the first 5 days down below, $1 will equal $1 of sacrificed value. On day 6, however, you will have to pay a 5% increase, meaning if you were to sacrifice on day 6, you would have to pay a 5% tax for the same amount of Pulse tokens that you would expect to receive. On day 7, you would have to pay a 10% tax. Day 8, a 15%, all the way up to day 19, where you would be paying a 50% tax on the cryptocurrency that you'd be sacrificing. Now, there will also be a volume bonus multiplier. Now, let me share with you how this works. Imagine that each sacrifice point grows legs, puts on a shirt with his sacrifice's address, and lines up in a big line out at the front of the auditorium. The largest sacrificer's points line up first, then the second largest, then they file up in a row from the front to the back. Now imagine an attendant coming in and starting to hand out bonus cards. He goes down the rows in the same order that they entered, and he will be handing out everyone a card. When he's done, the first one handed out is a 2.5x bonus. The 2.5x will go to the person who sacrifices the most for this presale. Every card handed out afterward is worth ever so lightly less until that person gets to the very back, where the last card was just barely more than a 1x. The difference between each card and the next is always the same. What this means is if you are sacrificing in the first 5 days and you sacrifice more, you will be receiving a higher bonus multiple of your Pulse tokens. Again, this is to incentivize people who get in early and people who sacrifice the most. For example, if you sacrificed $1 million worth of USDC and you were the highest sacrificer, you would get a 2.5x multiple bonus. Now, if you only sacrificed 100 USDC and that was the least amount that everyone had sacrificed, you would only receive approximately a slightly higher than 1x multiple on your $100 for your Pulse tokens. Now let me share with you some game theory when it comes to sacrificing your cryptocurrency and also what is happening at the time of this recording. As I mentioned, Hex is definitely going up in price, and the reason why it's going up in price is because people for the last few days have been buying a bunch of Hex anticipating the sacrifice phase. Because they bought their Hex down around the 8-cent mark, they now get to sacrifice it at around the 13-cent mark if they were to do it at the time of this recording. They have basically gained a 30 to 40% increase on their USD value. And again, you will gain points depending upon how much USD value you sacrifice, no matter what cryptocurrency. So whether you sacrifice USDC, Hex, Ethereum, Bitcoin, or any of the others, your points will only be calculated by how much US dollar value you're sacrificing at the time of your sacrifice. There is a 30-minute window as well to when you sacrifice and how your points will be calculated. If you click on the Open the dApp button, you then can go and see and connect your wallet. Once your MetaMask wallet is connected, go ahead and select the network, and then I'm going to show you a little secret when it comes to the Ethereum network. If you copy this address, you then can go to etherscan.io and paste in the address to the search bar. Then go ahead and click search. What's really cool to note is that you can see all the transactions in real time that are happening on the Ethereum network. And at the time of this recording, there's been more than $65 million in total USD sacrificed. If you click on this drop down arrow, you can see a majority of the USD value has been sacrificed in Hex. You can also see USDC, Tether, and a bunch of other cryptocurrencies. You can also see the individual transactions coming in and how much people are sacrificing in that value. For example, 10 seconds ago, somebody sacrificed 12,000 Hex. 21 seconds ago, somebody sacrificed 2,000, and all the way down the line. Now let me share with you why it is so important when and how much you sacrifice and which cryptocurrency you actually sacrifice for this presale. If you were just going to do USDC or some sort of stable coin, the best time to get into this presale would be in days 1 through 5. This way you're not paying any fees on the way up and towards the end of the presale. Now, if you're sacrificing any other cryptocurrency like Hex, any other Ethereum token, Bitcoin, or anything else, it may be more beneficial to sacrifice at later dates. This is because if you believe the USD value of your cryptocurrency will outperform the 5% tax over the time, then you would want to wait and sacrifice when you thought your cryptocurrency was at its peak. Again, this is a little bit more complicated to understand, but let me share with you an example. Right now, at the time of this recording, Bitcoin is coming in at $31,600. If you were to sacrifice your one Bitcoin at the time of this recording, you would only receive $31,600 worth of value. Now, let's say you waited 3 days and Bitcoin returned all the way up to $35,000. According to our chart, you would not be taxed, but you would have gained more USD value by approximately $3,000 to $4,000. Now, if you think Bitcoin is going to go below $31,000 in the next few weeks, then sacrificing as soon as possible would be the best to lock in your USD value. This is where you're going to have to do your own research and figure out what is going to be the best situation for yourself. But if Hex and some of these other cryptocurrencies continue to increase in value, it may be worth actually sacrificing in later days. Now, another thing that you could do is dollar cost average into this presale. Typically, I do not recommend doing something like this, but I think that there is an exception to the rule with this presale in particular. That is because if you're going to be sacrificing other cryptocurrencies instead of just US dollar coin, Tether, or other stable coins, you could sacrifice some in the beginning, some in the middle, and then some at the end. This way you're sacrificing and getting in early, and if your cryptocurrency continues to appreciate in value, you could sacrifice a little bit in the middle and pay a slight tax. And if your cryptocurrency continues to increase in value, you can always sacrifice right at the end to really capture the most USD value possible. Now again, there is no right or wrong way to do this, and it will be really interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks. Obviously, the most ideal is to actually capture the most within the first 5 days, especially if your cryptocurrency that you plan on sacrificing is going to be at its highest value. But again, the market is so volatile and this is almost impossible to time. And if you don't want to deal with any of this game theory stuff and you just want to have $1 for $1, sacrificing stable coins may be your best option. Now, another thing other people are doing is they're taking their stable coins, trading it for Hex, and then sacrificing their Hex right away. The reason they're doing this is because if you own Hex at all, you're basically taking more Hex off of the market and still getting the spot USD price. Let me share with you an example of this. If I were to go ahead and click on the trade button, it would take me to Uniswap and I could trade my USDC or other cryptocurrencies for Hex. Let's say I were to select the token and I would do USDC. Let's say I wanted to sacrifice 1,000 USDC or $1,000. What I could do is type in 1,000. At the time of this recording, that would get me approximately 7,000 Hex. I could then trade for the 7,000 Hex and then immediately after my trade, sacrifice my Hex. This then would actually get me approximately $1,003 worth of value. And if the price of Hex increases in the 30-minute window that I actually sacrifice, I could be getting more in value than just the $1,000 of USDC. Please do note though, if the price of Hex does drop during that time, it may have been better just to sacrifice your USDC. So remember, this is not financial advice and that you should always do your own research and only sacrifice what you feel comfortable sacrificing and when you actually want to sacrifice it. Now, there is so much more to think about with this whole cryptocurrency presale, Pulse chain, and everything else in the future, but this will give you a good head start of what to be thinking about for this presale. For myself personally, I will be sacrificing Hex because in the last few weeks, I've been talking about Hex and why I've been buying more Hex and preparing myself for this presale. I'm not sure exactly what time or when I will be sacrificing, but I will most likely be sacrificing some Hex in the first 5 days. This will all depend upon the USD value of Hex and where I believe Hex could actually go to in the next couple of weeks. I truly do think Hex in the future will increase in value, and literally seeing more than $57 million worth of Hex on day one being sacrificed really makes me think the Hex price is going to go up crazily in the future. Again, that's not financial advice, but once this Hex is sacrificed, it's essentially being taken off the market. And the more Hex that is sacrificed and taken off the market, basic supply and demand says that it's going to increase in value. So there you have it. There is some game theory about the Pulse chain sacrifice and also my thoughts and thinking about what will happen in the future. Thanks again for watching this video. I look forward to teaching you more in our future videos coming up. Stay tuned.